Untitled Podcast is a part of the Kansas Google Education Group Network and also the Mace Kansas Network. You can find more information about episodes and guests at www.untitledpc.net. Welcome to Untitled Podcast. My name is Travis True.
And I'm Carol Nelson.
All right, welcome everyone to this episode of Untitled Podcast. We've got two guests with us today. We have Dr. Virginia Duncan and Marie Henderson. Dr. Duncan's been an instructional and technology coach since August 2011. Before coaching teachers full-time, Virginia has taught English, history, and drama at middle school levels in California. She received her doctorate in teacher leadership from Walden University in 2012, a master's in literacy in the content area in 2007, and her master's in educational leadership and administration in August of 2016. She graduated with a bachelor's in English and secondary education from Lubbock Christian University in 1998. Jenny is most passionate about helping teachers through their professional journey. She loves assisting teachers in their individual professional growth and helping them become teacher leaders. Jenny has also worked to transform professional learning by implementing flexible and personal professional learning models and strategies that change the way teachers learn and grow. She continues to refine professional learning plans with innovative professional learning ideas and environments.
And Marie Henderson is the Instructional Technology Specialist for Hays Unified School District in Hays, Kansas, where she serves local teachers as a technology trainer and instructional coach. She designed and continues to facilitate a flexible professional learning model for the district staff. She's passionate about adult learning theory and empowering adults to implement student-centered, research-based instructional practices. In her free time, she's a wine enthusiast, sings in two local ensembles, and enjoys activities at her church. Marie earned her bachelor's degree in secondary mathematics education in 2003 and her master's degree in instructional technology in 2018. Ladies, it is great to have you both with us today.
Yes, thanks for joining. I think I forgot to mention too that Jenny, you're an instructional coach and technology coach in Garden City, correct?
I'm in Garden City, yes.
So the podcast was created because we want to share your stories. So why don't you share your stories with our listeners about your educational journeys, maybe some things that maybe weren't mentioned in your bio and how you ended up where you are now. Marie, we'll start with you.
Sure. So I did serve two districts, I guess, as a high school math teacher for almost 10 years, and then transitioned to an instructional coaching role at Great Bend High School, and had never, probably 6 months prior to that transition, didn't even know what an instructional coach was. And the assistant principal at that time encouraged me to apply for a position they were creating. And I was just overwhelmed by the possibilities, and really felt like as I transitioned to that position that I had found my niche and got more and more involved in professional learning from that standpoint, as well as instructional coaching, which Jenny and I'll talk more about, we feel like go hand in hand, are part of the same, two sides of the same card possibly. And then transitioned with my spouse as he moved jobs. We moved to Hays about 5 years ago, and I've been the instructional technology specialist here at Hays since then. And that has been predominantly a professional learning role, because I serve the entire district and I am the only instructional coach on staff. And so then individual instructional coaching, of course, in a 5A school district, just with one person isn't isn't truly a day-to-day reality. So I get to do bits and pieces of instructional coaching here and there, but I do a lot of larger situations with professional learning. And initially that was, a sit and get model. And I like presenting. I like talking. I feel confident doing those things. And my friend Jenny kept telling me that, oh my gosh, look at these things I'm doing. And they're self-paced and they're asynchronous. And I was like, yeah, we don't need to do that. People keep coming to my professional learning sessions. They're great. We love them. And then it kind of dried up. Like we had originally had a one-to-one initiative that had people coming, and they had devices in their hands that they'd never had before. And so they desperately needed the support and the learning opportunities. And then they kind of got to a level of comfort and were like, no, we're good, Marie, please leave us alone. And I was like, oh, I have to do something different. And Jenny truly was the impetus for all of the different things that I've done since then. And then we've partnered on a wide variety of projects for years now. So yeah.
All right, Jenny.
Well, let's see. I taught in California for 13 years, and I was in a variety of kind of building localized leadership roles. I mentored teachers, and I was department chair for the English department. And my husband is from this area, and so we ended up moving out this direction. And I feel like I always joke about how I fell into the instructional coach role, because when I interviewed in Liberal, Kansas, they were like, well, we have this coaching role that we really would like to put you into. And I was applying for an English job, and I was like, okay, sounds interesting. So, and I really like how Marie said she found her niche, because that was exactly what it ended up being. It was like, I found my niche. And I was really, really passionate about, professional learning, and very quickly found, just like what Marie found, where it was like, people don't necessarily come to professional learning like that's sit and get one. And they were, and if they did, we weren't seeing application and implementation of anything we talked about. And so one of my coaching partners at the time, her name's Kate Pyland, and she works for GradeCam now, but she and I were like really trying to think about how to do things differently. And she was labeled a technology coach, and I was labeled an instructional coach. And we felt like our job was the same. Like, that shouldn't be a separate thing. And so we partnered on everything, because, everything she was doing, she was always looking at instruction first anyway. And the things that I was doing, we had to infuse technology tools, because that was part of instruction. So we became the same role, and we kind of relabeled ourselves. And then made the transition to Garden City. There's a coaching role open there, mostly because my son is a dancer, and we were driving 6 days a week, an hour both ways. So after school, we drive to Garden City and then go home. So, after 5 years of doing that, we were like, and so there's a coaching role open there. So applied for that, and that's kind of where I've been the past couple of years. So.
Yeah. And about 9 years ago, when I was a new coach and Jenny had been a coach for a couple of years, the assistant superintendents at both of our separate districts realized they both had young coaches on their hands. And I had a partner coach at the time also. And she wasn't nearly as new to the situation as I was, but they felt like, with Common Core coming out at that time, and just a huge body of work that we needed to accomplish in supporting high school, and at the time I was only a high school coach, staff, that we could support each other in doing those things as we supported teachers in our separate buildings and districts. And so we started meeting, we've met via Zoom or some other video conferencing platform now for 9 years. Like, this was not news to us in March when people started doing it. They were like, you've Zoomed before. It's like, yeah, regularly. I mean, so that was, who knew 9 years ago that the current situation would occur, and that we would have had any experience already doing this. But so off and on, over the past 9 years, we've gone at different points where we met every other week and read books together. We've done book studies. We've done article studies. This spring, we're doing something new. And so it was exciting for us to be on this, because we're going to do a podcast study. So now to be on a podcast is super fun. But yeah, we haven't done that before, and now we lead a book study across, it's national because there's teachers, I guess, from other states that do it with us, but we've met all of them through conferences that we've attended. And that's grown out of our love for meeting with each other and supporting each other and partnering across our situations. And even as my situation has transitioned from building level to district level, we still find that we have endless things to talk about and bounce ideas off of, and that sort of situation has certainly inspired my work. I hope Jenny gets half as much from me as I get from her. But it's been a long journey, and it's good. It's fun now because, well, we think we've met in person 4 times, and then we've presented in person 3 more times. But yeah, it's a long distance, our little long distance relationship here. So.
Sounds like a great partnership, though, that is challenging how you look at professional development and present that with your staff. So how are you changing the way professional development is offered in your different districts and areas?
Ginny, you start, because you made big changes way before I did.
So this originally started, I think right after Marie and I met, and I was Kate Pyland, who I mentioned before, she was working at the same site that I was, and we started by really rethinking what we wanted professional learning, kind of like a mission and vision of what professional learning should be, making sure that we constantly talked about modeling strategies and how things needed to change, but we were still doing in-person training, sit and get, showing teachers, and we were modeling strategies during that, but it wasn't the same. And as we started to talk about personalized and flexible learning situations, we were like, gosh, we really need to rethink what that looks like. If we were truly going to model those types of strategies, we needed to make sure that we were presenting it differently. So what we ended up doing is creating this leveled challenge card, basically. And so it has 4 different levels for teachers to choose from. So it all has the same topic, focus, and learning objective for teachers, but there's 4 different levels. And so teachers choose the level that they're comfortable with. And then there's a lot of different ways that they can kind of explore those different opportunities. And we also wanted to skip over that. I mentioned earlier how teachers were they would walk away from the training, but they wouldn't implement. And so we wanted it to be application based, so that it's as they were learning, they were implementing things in their classroom and then reflecting on that and making changes necessary. So the 4 different levels, they don't need to go through each level. They pick the level that's most appropriate. And then there's this learning to explore. So there might be an article or there might be a video. It's pretty short, though. We try to find the biggest bang for your buck kind of thing to maximize time for them. And then they explore strategies, they implement them in their classroom, and then the evidence is actually, either a video or student work samples or pictures, documents that they created, and then they do a reflection, how did it go? What would you do differently? So there's always that piece that goes with it. And then they're open-ended. So every 4 weeks or so, I launch a new challenge, but it's not capped by that. It's not time-bound. So if we're working on a challenge in September, but then in February, they're like, hey, I want to go back to that strategy, then we leave that open-ended. So it really models for teachers that flexibility of, learning is learning. It doesn't matter when it happens. And so that's kind of that is the foundation of the professional learning that I offer at my building site. And they get badges and prizes, and they get medals depending on which level they do. So there's that bronze, silver, or gold, and platinum level. And then in addition to that, we do some side challenges. So I have Yahtzee professional learning. And so there's these different little things that they can do within there. We have Tech-Techtober. So they actually try some different things when they're in their classroom. And again, even though it's launched at a certain time. So Tech-Techtober is always in October, but it doesn't end in October. It's just kind of my fun, catchy thing that we do. What's the other one? Oh, March Madness bracket we did last spring. And so I thought it was funny because I think, Travis, I saw that you mentioned that in the Google Trainer group. And I was like, I actually have. We did that last spring with our teachers. They were super excited about that. So they were exploring them in teams and figuring out which tech tools they thought were the most appropriate for what they were doing. And so just different things like that.
But you just finished 12 days.
Oh, our 12 days of innovation is like this, and I do an 8 days in the spring. So we found that in December and May, teachers get really like, they're wrapping up for the year. They don't want to, really do something that's long and intense. And so I do this 12-day or 8-day blast of different little instructional things each day that's quick for them to figure out. And it's mostly Google based because they're really exploring those tools. And so it's a quick thing that they do collaboratively. And then it has the classroom application on the card as well. But it's not quite as reflective each day as it is with the bigger challenges. On day 12, we do this big reflection, like what's your action step? Which thing are you going to take away and try? And this year I noticed usually teachers are like, during the next semester, I'm going to, and they figure out what they want to do. This year, they were implementing things almost immediately. So it was like the next day, it was like, I'm going to do this like right away. They were already doing things really fast. And I think that really hit home for them because we were in remote learning throughout December in Garden City. So they were like ready to implement stuff right away. So can't remember if I missed anything. With our 12 days and 8 days, we have so I talked about the badges and prizes, the 12 and 8 day blast. It's like a prize every day. There's a build a badge, so they actually add to their badge. And we have like little mascots, the innovation elf that comes. And then in the spring, I have this little little stuffed fox. And I take pictures around campus. So there's a lot of motivation and marketing that goes into it to really engage teachers, which was a funny conversation because I had a teacher who was like, just really struggling getting my students to actually participate in remote learning. And I'm like, I really want you to think about the different things that I do to engage you guys because we're not in person. And none of the stuff that I do is in person. And he's like, oh, yeah. And so he really clicked with having the fun, engaging things to pull people in, his students in order to get them re-engaged in learning. And lo and behold, it actually did work. He had a success story after that was really fun.
So we all do professional development in our districts, and we all have the same challenges. So why is professional learning or professional development so difficult? Because we have, like Marie said, we have a really hard time getting people to come to a training after school for face-to-face. We offer some online asynchronous things. We offer, we did our entire PD pre-service in August. PD was all online through video. And it was fairly successful because it was the first time we had done something like that. But other people I talk to in our same positions that do the same things we do, we all struggle with the same thing. And why is PD so difficult?
Marie, do you want to talk a little bit about this? Because we were chatting about this earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a time factor. I think that especially right now, teachers do feel overwhelmed. And so the massive amount of things they're supposed to accomplish makes for a lack of dedication to self, I think, because they're so ingrained in my students, this task, this lesson, this unit, this test. And so actually one of the other things Jenny and I do together is talk about growing ourselves to grow others. And And we think that our commitment to our professional learning as individuals fosters the culture of professional learning that we try to instill in our districts. And that commitment to a culture of learning is, I think, one of the components of a successful situation. And I think there's an ebb and flow to that. I don't think it's, there's going to be gaps in it, obviously, as turnover occurs, like Jenny and I were talking about, as we've transitioned from one position to another, as we've moved from one district to another, that the things we were doing in the previous district stopped. They're not, they quit. And we've had in Hayes, I've been here 5 years, and we've had 3 superintendents. So that culture has transitioned immensely across those 3 different leaders. And that's one of the things that we think is or that we've discussed makes some of this so challenging. And of course, time. I mean, teachers are strung out in a variety of different ways. And the after school PD, which is where I had found the biggest challenge. Like, I was holding these little sessions in every building in the district after school and just running around like a crazy person, holding these in-person sit and get sessions. And 3 people would come, 5 people would come. And we'd be like, oh my gosh, Jenny, 8 people came to my session today. And I mean, seriously, like, I'm excited because 8 people in a 70-person staff showed up at my session. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, whereas like the way that, we're doing things now, I end up because there's no after school or in-person type of thing. The in-person things I do are all very individualized. So, a teacher is actually, it's in the moment training. So they're like, I'm trying to do this strategy that you have on challenge number 3, and I'm struggling with this. And so I'm helping them very personally with that challenge. It's not a one size fits all approach. And I think sometimes districts tend to, because of the turnover, because we have lots of new teachers coming in, then we want to like catch them up. And so there's always this big gap. And so we tend to focus on like the wrong thing in our attempt to focus on like initiatives and things. If we spent more time with our new teachers at the beginning doing some of those catch up things, then we could actually move on during the year with those other, moving everybody forward. But definitely personalized.
How do you identify what your challenges are going to be? How do you identify what your training focus is going to be?
So for me, I listen a lot. So I really pay attention to what teachers are talking about and what they feel like they need. I do not pick the topics for the challenges. Like right now, I'm not working on what I'm going to do the next school year. I'm not figuring that out yet. It's very much in the moment addressing needs that they have. So when this school year started, our teachers during our work days, their biggest concern was, we have to social distance. We can't do collaboration strategies in our classroom. Yes, you can. So then that's what challenge number 1 became. It was addressing that need, because I kept hearing that repeatedly from different teachers who would come to me to ask me those questions. So I really listened to what the common challenges are in their classrooms, and that's what becomes the actual innovation challenge, is what we call them. So we tackled that right away. And bronze level is always a foundation to build a common language between everyone. And so that was the difference between collaboration and group work, was our very first focus.
What about in Hayes, Marie?
Yeah. So I haven't really talked much about so I don't do innovation challenges. Mine has come out of Jenny's work. The foundation for the situation that I created, or the platform that I've created, was motivated and inspired by Jenny's work, but mine looks very different and works very differently in my system in order to meet the needs. Again, I'm pre-K-12. So I don't have a single building. I have 9 attendance centers that I support. with not only technology professional learning, but also best instructional practices, evidence-based instructional practices. And then I also have then partnered with the people in my district who lead any other professional learning. So the man who's our current SPED director, Kyle Carlin, he transitioned from over the last 3 or 4 years. Initially, he was a school psych, and then he became the champs and foundations coordinator in our district. And then the next year he was the assistant to the co-op. And then now he's the director. So like his change in roles hasn't made it so he has really been able to lead professional learning without the in-person situation still, even as his role has transitioned by using this, and mine's called 489 Flex or just Flex, and Flex stands for Flexible Learning Experiences. And the idea really is they're available all the time through our website. Anyone can go do a Flex anytime throughout the year, and we have almost 70 now that are available. So over the last 3 years, between Kyle and myself have developed all of these different opportunities. So each Flex does, like Ginny's Innovation Challenge, each Flex has a learning objective and has a focus. And then there are knowledge tasks where the teacher can start wherever it fits best for them. So again, very personalized. Like if they don't need to read the article or watch the video about the baseline knowledge, because maybe they've been doing whatever it is and they're just trying to hone their craft, or maybe they're just trying to re-inspire their current situation or dive back in and refine something. And so they may skip the first few knowledge tasks and move straight into the deeper learning. And so there's a knowledge portion of the card, and then I have an application portion of the Flex as well. And so they don't have to do both. They can pick what works best for them based on their own current goals and needs in their classrooms. But the teachers are able to personalize it for themselves. And then I'm available, like Ginny said, at any time to further support that. Now I do a big in-person push in the summer. We have, for the last 2 years now, we've done 8 days of awesome. And I told my boss, we were in a meeting one day, this was probably 6 months before it actually happened the first time. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about what you're planning. And she was really enthusiastic. And she says, it's just going to be awesome. And it was going to be 2 weeks long, and we were only going to do 8 days, which in previous summers when I was real into my sit and get model, we did 60 days. We offered 60 different days over June, July, and August. It was absolutely insanity. I'm not even sure my family knew I existed. And I would have between 8 and 10 people per session, and I offered almost 100 sessions each summer. It was absolute insanity. But we had switched to this with Flex because they can do it anytime, and we're just offering the opportunity for collaboration and additional support to come in person. Then we transitioned, and I said, oh my gosh, it's 8 days of awesome. And it kind of stuck. And I was like, oh, I told my husband, I'm not cool enough to say things like that because I'm a nerdy math geek, a band and choir girl. But and Ginny and I have talked extensively about how important the marketing is. Mm-hmm. And she mentioned that a little while ago. Like I make videos. I am my own video production studio in my little office. And to promote my things, I am on, God bless Canva and their lovely templates, and they make it possible for all of us to do amazing looking posters with very little effort, and just type in your information. And they look like some professional graphic designer has been working on your professional learning with you, which is lovely. So we cheat, beg, borrow, and steal wherever we can, but yeah, it's that promotion, and that has been, those 8 days have offered an in-person component for us but during those, like each of the days has a theme, and we do each of the themes twice. So there's only four themes. And this last summer we did, they built their I had a word for it. They built a raft, a learning raft. And the R was for relevance, and the A was for agency, and the F was for feedback, and the T was for teamwork. And like Jenny said, like she pulls that from conversations she has with teachers. Mine is very much that way also, but also from the district's KISA goals. Like the goals that we focus on each year inform what I'm doing with a flex. Like what kinds of or topics or kind of umbrellas of groups of ideas that come out for me as I release flexes. And I just really, Jenny's all scheduled and it's very orderly. It comes out every month. I just had like I'll release 5, I'll just all of a sudden, and then it'll go a month and a half and nothing. I got nothing. I've done not a darn thing. But there's always something else on my plate, it seems like. But those sorts of in-person things have supported what I'm doing. The thing that we've been pushing with, that Jenny and I have discussed extensively recently, is the collaboration piece with professional learning. And if teachers don't have a chance to discuss in a collaborative manner what they're doing with the professional learning, what they think about the topic, how they're going to put it into practice, or if they're going to put it into practice, or what they're worried about as they plan to put it into practice, they don't actually do it. Like if they don't talk to anybody about it, they don't do it. And so offering those collaborative situations when we're in this social distancing world has been challenging and difficult at different times. And I more so than in the previous years, I've had to go back to teachers because like Jenny said, they submit evidence of student work. They submit a lesson plan. They submit pictures of something they did in their classroom. They, as evidence that they've applied their learning. And so then they get the PD point, we get professional development credit based on what they submit. Well, they skip the documentation of their collaboration. So then I get to email them, hey, I noticed you didn't, and I would love to collaborate with you. Just let me know when we can do that, And so then in that way, I'm able to pull in that instructional coaching piece a little bit too. Or, hey, just take it to your next grade level team meeting, ask your colleagues what they're doing, or stop it doesn't have to be, I'm not talking about you spending another hour with this. I'm talking about you taking 15 more minutes and having a professional conversation. Because as Jenny and I both have made a commitment here to adult learning theory and to professional learning. And the evidence tells us that if you don't, the student outcome, the student achievement is not there. We're not making any sort of impact. And so that has been consistently challenging, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I know you do a lot of that in-person collaboration, and I build in like digital components to that too. So a lot of the reflection pieces are, we have Padlets, or we have collaborative 3-2-1 documents where they post their takeaways. So it's built in, they can see each other's responses and then share and respond to each other in that way too.
Well, and then of course we hope that they take those things and use them instructionally in their classrooms. Like each of Jenny's Innovations Challenges, my Flexes, all of these things, they have thinking prompts embedded. They have instructional models embedded. They have, reflection tools, like getting metacognition tools embedded in the professional learning. And every once in a while, one of the teachers will say, do you have more of these? Like I need more of these. Not this tool you're trying to teach me to use. I need more of these thinking prompts, and they'll take home, just sheets of these reflection, and or download. We have some of those things available on our websites as well. But yeah, that's getting people to think about their thinking and do those reflection pieces. Like that's, again, there's no implementation, there's no application if they don't spend time with that sort of piece. And then after they do it, they again, like Jenny said, the reflection afterwards. What are you going to do differently next time? You know, it's not a one and not a one and done. Like Jenny says, she leaves them open. They're available all the time. You don't have to wait for, oh my gosh, Marie's holding this session on, a goose chase or something on Tuesday, but on Tuesdays my kid has dance, so we can't go. I can't ever go to a professional learning on Tuesdays. That's no longer a thing. Like, it's always available. They can do it whenever it makes sense for them. Mm-hmm. And then I don't think it happens very often. I hope it happens for Jenny. I encourage it, but I don't think it happens. I'm like, hey, you and your grade level team, like, pick a flex and do it together, all of you. Like,
that does happen to me. I will have, let's see, we're in academies. We're structured in academies, and so each academy has their own like plan our like academy meeting once a week. And several times, one of our academies, they will like take a challenge and they will like divide up the strategies. They'll like explore it together. It's really cool. And that was not something I initiated. That was the academy leader who did that. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, so, I'm still working towards that. That's my next. I'm gonna get some grade level team or some department or some PLC. I call them PLCs loosely because we haven't really adopted that model hardcore in Hayes, or it's left via attrition. It sounds like they did it a dozen years ago and then it fell by the wayside. But that's one of the things I really stress. Like, you guys are having, you and the three teachers that teach third grade together, you're having similar challenges. Mm-hmm. There's similar things that are occurring in your classroom. Choose a flex that meets those needs, and or if there's not one, let me know what it is. Like, we build them all the time, and we'll help you help you navigate that together. But when you do it with other people, it makes a big difference, which I think is still why Jenny and I keep meeting. Like, here 9 years later, like, we keep getting together and keep doing these things because we see our own growth when we do that collaboratively.
I think I should add too that our academies are a little bit competitive, and I do an academy leaderboard with the challenges. So you tap into your staff and what you know about the staff, and I have found very quickly that I wouldn't have done this in liberal because we kind of tried to do a leaderboard and it was, they weren't really into it. So we just kind of gave that one up. But in Garden City, the academies are a little bit competitive with each other. And so they will, like Green Academy we're all doing bronze level today, and everybody will do bronze level during their academy meeting because they want to make sure that they stay like competitive. So it's kind of funny.
You never know what's going to get them or which one of the marketing tools. Mm-hmm. I think that I spend a lot of time, and actually I was a marketing major for a hot second in college, which has turned out to be an integral part of what I currently do. Right. But you never know which of is it the catchy little paragraph that I write about the flex so that they know what it's going to be about? Is that what it is? Is that why they do it? Is it the video that I created to introduce them to the new? Who knows? Like,
is it the badge? Is it the prize? Is it the ad where I put my Bitmoji on it to draw attention? Like, for some of them it is.
Oh yeah, who knows?
So. And for each person, it may be
yes
a different piece. That's what's beautiful.
Right. And that's that conversation I had with that teacher about all the different things that I do to bring people in. And he recognized that he had to do that with his students too.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's a salesmanship to teaching. Mm-hmm. That just, you're a peddler and somebody has to buy your wares.
I love how you layer the different pieces. You have what you're trying to teach, but you're also teaching some things that are kind of side little pieces, and you kind of layer that learning for teachers. And lot of little golden nuggets tucked into those different pieces.
Yes, for sure.
This is something that we ask everyone that we have on our podcast, thinking of COVID, and it can certainly be a negative, and it is caused challenges, but there are certainly pieces that can cause us to grow and some positive things that we take away from it. So what is something that you would take away from teaching, for maybe even the professional development changes during COVID, that you would continue forward and continue on?
Marie, you said this beautifully. Yesterday when we were chatting?
I don't remember.
Good instruction is good instruction. Do you remember that?
That's right. I do remember that. Okay. Yeah, I do think that's that we chat. Ginny and I don't go. We texted on Christmas. I don't even know. Sean, my husband, who are you talking to? Ginny, I'll be right out. I'm talking to Ginny. I'll be there. No, we talked about, that good instruction is good instruction. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway from all of this, is the things that you were doing in the classroom in person might have to be accomplished differently. The ways that you have your grade level team meeting, even the ways that your building comes together, the ways that you have your staff Christmas party, all the things, whatever it is, might have to be accomplished differently. Not that your staff Christmas party is going to affect your student learning, although again, your culture, I think culture affects learning, so maybe. Whatever was good and evidence-based and the best thing to do previously, those are still the best things to do. You may have to do them differently, but good instruction is good instruction, and we can model that through our professional learning opportunities, and hope that they take those things back to the classroom as well.
I think it was kind of funny because I actually had a couple of teachers ask me during the first semester. They were like, "So how has your job changed with us coming back to school and all of this stuff going on?" And I'm like, it hasn't really, because we already shifted and changed into this very flexible, personalized way of doing professional learning, that not much has changed for the way that I work with teachers and deal with them. I do, the one thing that is very different is, like Marie said, meeting with groups of teachers, because on occasion they still bring me in to work with groups of teachers. They all want to work on the same thing, so they ask me to attend. Well, that looks differently, and the how is different, but it still happens, because that's still, the collaboration is still important. Like Marie said, the good instruction is good instruction, and good quality professional learning is still good quality professional learning. So it's just rethinking the how. But by and large, because we already shifted to this flexible, at your own pace, kind of thing, my job didn't change all that much. A lot of what I do with the innovation challenges is when I give teachers a strategy now, I shift the how. So, because I give them like little mini instructional playbooks for a strategy, well, that looks a little differently because the way that they need to implement the strategy is going to be different. So an online platform versus, an in-person in the classroom platform, showing them how to have students collaborate digitally, even when they're in the classroom together. So it's just the how that shifts. And I think that that's still important. And I think that's something that definitely needs to carry forward, because more and more, even before COVID, people were getting jobs that were working from home, collaborating with people in different countries. There's all of those different things that more and more jobs were becoming like that. And I think that it's really important that we continue to embed those things in the classroom now that we've sort of experienced that.
Well, thank you both for coming on, sharing your stories and those awesome things you're doing in your districts with professional development. Jenny, where can people find you on Twitter?
At Dr. Jenny D.
And Marie?
Yeah, at mhenderson621. So I have those stalker people that never customized their Twitter because I didn't. Probably because Jenny told me to get on Twitter. I don't really remember, but probably Jenny told me to get on Twitter, and I was like, okay, cool, that username. I mean, the 621, like I picked the number because it's our anniversary and my birthday actually, but yeah, I was like, oh, that number's available. That looks good.
Well, thank you both. We really enjoyed this, and everyone, to all the listeners, just a reminder to check out the show notes, any of the resources that we mentioned. Marie's Flex website will be on there, and links to their Twitter pages where you can go and follow them will be on there too. So again, thank you both for joining us, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.